You know, we've heard a lot of stuff about DR Horton. They just came to town about 2 or 3 years ago, and I figured it's time just to go inside and see what it's all about. We're at 4413 Northeast 16th in Northeast Ankeny. Let's go. Again, we're in a DR Horton home. We're just gonna walk through this house, kind of pick it apart piece by piece. I'm gonna give you some pros and cons to what I see. But immediately when I walk in, it kind of just feels like a normal house. If you're not in new homes all the time, you might not know the difference between one and another. But this house, when I first walk in, a couple things I noticed really quick. They got different light switches. These are big light switches, and you wonder what they are. I've been versed on them by, a rep with DR Horton at some point. They are bigger switches. You can actually pull them out, switch them, and it's really easy to put a dimmer switch in, or if you got one that you want like a smart switch. So they're actually pretty handy. I don't necessarily like the look of them compared to what the normal switches are, but it could just be because I'm just not used to them. Another thing I noticed right away, like this is something, I'm kind of a snob when it comes to trim, but I noticed right away the trim is a lower profile. And then when you get around the doors, they're about a 2 to 2.5 inch trim instead of getting your, a nice thick trim around. So I personally am not a huge fan of it, but one thing you gotta remember when we're walking through this home is price. Everything comes with $1. So this home right here is 1,635 square feet, and it is listed at $319,900. Other builders in the area that are not DR Horton, they're up in that $360,000 to $370,000 range. So you're talking a $50,000 or even maybe a $60,000 spread between this house and other ones. So when you see things like smaller trim, you pay for what you get. Now, I personally am not a huge fan of it, but there definitely is a place for a buyer that may not be able to afford that $360,000 or $370,000, but they still want a new home. This is the home that you should be looking at. A couple other things, when I walk here in the kitchen, I immediately notice, it is a quartz countertop. On the surface, it looks like all the other builders. It's a little skinnier, not a huge deal. I think a lot of people can probably get over that. One of the things about DR Horton Homes is they are a national builder, the biggest national builder. They have a ton of cash. So one thing they're able to do is buy things in massive quantities. So they're gonna get a better purchase price on a lot of them. Like the cabinets and all this stuff. A lot of the builders locally, they're not using this cabinet brand because they just can't get them. It's not a local company. They probably buy them in a huge shipment. They get a better deal. Also, when you do this many homes, they build probably 2-3 times more homes than the other builders in town. They're gonna get first dibs. They're gonna get the lowest pricing from the contractors because they can guarantee them work. So they are getting a better price. I see here, it was listed at $344,900. It has dropped to $337,900, and now we're at $319,900. Local builders don't have the ability to drop the price that much. And if they do, that means they need to get rid of them immediately. DR Horton, they can. Another thing about DR Horton is they also have their own lender. They are able to buy loans in massive quantities and get better rates. So that's something that, again, local builders don't have that option. They can partner up with local lenders, but they're not gonna have the ability to buy $10 million in loan and lock in a rate that other lenders can't give. So that's another advantage to a DR Horton home. They really work off affordability. A couple more things I see. If you come down here, so these floors, they kind of look just like, they look like a typical laminate floor, maybe even today's LVP. To know what it is, one of the things I do is I'll lift this up and I'll take a look. So this floor is a pressed, it looks like pressed wood into laminate. Again, the price point is really, really good on this home. I feel like this may not last a long time. What I tell my clients, I actually sold the house next door, had this conversation with them. If you're looking at a DR Horton home, just know that there are some updates that you're gonna want to do. If you want your home to increase to the same price as other resale homes 5-10 years when you go to sell it, little things like maybe trimming out the windows. They have drywall wrapped windows. I like trim on my windows. You have the budget to do it because you're spending $50,000 less than you would on another house. If you look at the lighting in here, which might be kind of hard to see in the video, They've got one disc light over where you would have your table, and they've got one disc light where most builders would have a ceiling fan. Again, simple updates like light fixtures and lighting, maybe add more can lights, maybe add a fixture, add a fan. You can add those things when you're ready, but today it's definitely something you can move into at a great price. We'll head this direction. I know it's a fireplace, it's the same type of fireplaces that all the other builders use, so that's pretty comparable. So as we step in here, this carpet, it's new. It feels like new carpet should. So I don't have a problem with the carpet. My experience, this carpet was put in 4 or 5 years ago in a lot of homes. It wears out pretty quick. In places where you walk, it might wear fairly quick. But again, you can replace all the flooring in this house for probably $4 or $5 grand. You know, you're still getting $50,000 less. If you replace the carpet and put some trim on, you're still getting a good deal. Bathroom, same thing. This is the old roll-out vinyl floor where you glue it to the ground. You know, is what it is. Again, this is a product that you have to be comfortable with. Sorry, I was okay, so there's a separate toilet room right here, but it was natural to feel like this is where the toilet should be, but it wasn't here, so I got a little bit lost. But anyway, you have to be okay with some of the products not being exactly what you want. DR Horton build a fine home. I don't see any problems with it, but it's definitely something that you can feel doesn't have quite the stuff that some of the other local builders would have. Again, trim, a little nicer flooring, thicker base and case. You know, those things, they look nicer, they feel better. Typically a master bedroom is going to have a fan, you might have a tray ceiling. This one doesn't. But again, it's all about what you're paying for. If you can't afford that $370, this might be your solution. Let's go check out downstairs. I want to look at that real quick. I don't see any real big issues down here. You know, the finished work on the floor is not the best, but it's not terrible. Plus, when you finish it out, you put flooring over the top anyway. Their homes are all electric. So you've got electric water heater. They do have gas to the furnace. Again, everything in here, this is a typical unit you would see on a regular, you know, every other builder uses the same materials, the same product lines. I do see a benefit over here. They have it pre-plumbed for radon. So that's something that not every builder does. One other thing that they offer, and this is kind of interesting, you definitely won't get this with a local builder. So right now they have fiber already hooked up in here. They offer a package for security. You get like a pad with all the security stuff on it. You get like the first 36 months for free, something like that. I'm not totally versed with it, but there is a benefit there. So that's kind of cool that you get a security package tied in with the property. And then if you choose to continue it on after it's over, you can, or you can just let it go. But all in all, DR Horton Homes builds a nice home. It's definitely something, it's a product not for everybody, but it's affordable. It allows you to get into a new construction home for a price you can handle. If you use their financing, sometimes you can get benefits on the financing side of things. It could be a perfect house for you. If you want to know more about them, I know you can get on and read reviews. I understand that they have a ton of bad reviews, but it's also the biggest builder in the country. And you know, reviews typically come from people who aren't happy. So I don't necessarily put a whole lot of weight into that. But I will say that DR Horton builds a home at a price other builders can't touch. I represent a builder, I've represented many builders, and they don't compete against DR Horton because they're just in a different category. I don't want to put this builder and DR Horton in the same category because pricing wise, you can't touch them, and they're just not the same. They're not apples to apples. But if you're interested in a DR Horton home and you live in the Des Moines Metro, I'd love to show you the house, give you the pros and cons, and see if it's a match for you. I appreciate you coming along this tour. If you have any questions about DR Horton Homes, make sure you get a hold of me. If you want to tour them, if you want to see what it's all about in person, I would love to help you out. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. Thanks for coming along.